Hello. So my client fam came in today for a knotless braid service. This is the hair we're going to be using. It's the Shake and Go Freetress natural texture hair. She brought in about 3 packs, but we only ended up using 1 full pack and almost 1 entire bundle. So she definitely has more than enough to do this hairstyle one more time. And so we started off with a thorough wash. We did a clarifying wash, a moisturizing wash, then we did a deep condition. And here we're just back at the chair and I'm just sectioning her hair just to prep her for the blowout. And so the hair doesn't need to be super straight, but it's always a good idea to blow out the hair, to stretch it out before braiding, because you sort of want the hair you're working with to match the texture of the extension hair. It just gives you a more seamless finish, and the entire process ends up being a bit easier and your end result always looks much better. And so here I am just going through the hair. I've sectioned her hair off into a few bantu knots and we got through the blow dry. I always like doing that because it helps with keeping the hair organized while I blow dry. And so now I'm just putting the hair on the braiding rack, just doing some prep for the feed-in braids. And so I'm going to be showing how I do my knotless braids from different angles, so you can sort of get a glimpse into how my fingers are moving. For today's braids, I'm only using 3 pieces per braid. Sometimes when I'm working in an area, I'll start a few braids and then I'll just sort of group them together, and then I'll braid down that entire group, just as I'm doing here. And what I just did there was, when I was done the braid, I actually just clipped it away. It helps to keep everything I'm working on organized, and it also helps the braids from unraveling as I'm working through the entire head. So as you can see with today's client fam, I'm actually just working up and around her entire head. We opted not to do square parts today. I actually have a lot of my clients not doing square parts unless they really want to. I find that you're able to get a much fuller look without having to have a million braids on your head. When you're doing square parts, it looks really good, but I find the grow out can be a little bit more painful with regard to how it looks, with regard to the neatness of the overall look. But I find when I'm doing like these kind of parts, the grout is a lot better and the look is fuller and it just looks better overall for longer. The hair lays really well. Clients are happy with it. I'm happy with it. And so sometimes I'll actually section off the front from the back, but today we just opted to work around the entire head. see, I'm not a hairstylist that uses a lot of gel. I definitely don't want to be responsible for creating buildup from the start. We did a really great wash. There's no reason to gunk up the hair with unnecessary gel. And so I try to keep the gel to just the hair. I try not to get it on the scalp. I know what you see a lot on social media is people, putting a lot of gel on the scalp, then doing their part. We don't do that here. It's totally unnecessary. You only need a little bit just on the hair at the root, as you can see here. And now we're just feeding in the first leg of the braid, and then we're going to add in the additional 2 pieces. And then as you go down the braid, you can decide if you need to add more gel as you go. So my client's hair is freshly cut, and so she has blunt ends because I believe we cut her hair in her last service when she had a silk press. Now that's a look she thoroughly enjoyed as well. She's having a lot of fun with her hair as it grows out from a shorter style. And so her ends are blunt, and so there's a lot of tucking that's happening today. And so I find that the gel helps with that as well with regard to the tucking. And so as I've been working, I've been grouping the braids along, just, tying them up with an elastic so that they're out of the way and I don't have to worry about the braids unraveling. But once I'm done with a section, what I like to do is use my thinning shears to cut away any stray hairs that don't belong, and this helps with efficiency because at the end all I have to do is dip the hair in the hot water that I've just boiled, and I may have to do a trim, but for the most part I'm doing all the trimming as I'm working. And so we're at the end. This is the exciting part. A few hours after, we are done. We are done with these beautiful braids. And so I'm just putting a towel around her neck, just in preparation for dipping the hair in the hot boiling water. And so I'm just gonna now cut these elastics, and we're gonna put some mousse on her braids to set them really well. And we're also gonna put some oil on her scalp. asking her to lean back as comfortably as she can, and I have the boiling water in my container here, and I'm just dipping, and then I'll do the same on the other side. And because these braids are on the shorter side, what I like to do is grab the braids that are sitting right on top of her head in the middle and dip those again as well, just because, you know, it's short and we want to make sure that we've caught all of the braids. Another thing to note quickly is that I actually have a container sitting on the floor that's catching all of the water that's dripping from the braids. I think I missed this one, so I'm just dipping it again. So I don't like my clients to leave with dripping hair, totally unnecessary. So what I like to do is I'll blot the braids with one towel, and then when that's saturated, I'll actually grab the towel from, you know, that was sitting around her neck and shoulder, and I'll continue to blot the hair before I start blow drying it a bit. This is a simple thing to do at the end of a braiding service, but it means the world to the client because they don't have to leave the salon with wet braids. And to be honest, it's just a really nice touch. So knotless braids are great. It's a fantastic protective style for anyone. It's low tension. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Hope you learned something. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.